Welcome to Margins and Mandates, the show where plays, pivots, and pressure-tested leadership take center stage. I'm your host, Jeff Lortz, former operator, advisor, and founder of the Agile Operator. Today's guest is Mike Sarafinas, a sales and marketing leader with nearly 2 decades of experience building businesses through relationships, credibility, and a deep focus on customers. Mike is one of the founders and the chief revenue officer at Point Five, a bootstrapped connectivity and managed service company that's quietly built a highly profitable, low-churn business over the last 12 years. No venture funding, no shortcuts, just consistent execution and trust earned over time. In this conversation, we talk about what it really means to scale after you've proven the business works, why execution risk often outweighs market risk, and the discipline it takes to grow without losing the philosophy that got you here. We also get into the parts of the journey that don't always get talked about: early sacrifices, failed roles, near misses, and knowing when it's finally time to pour gas on the fire. If you're wrestling with when to professionalize your go-to-market motion or how to take growth to the next step without breaking what works, this is the episode that will resonate. Let's get into it.
All right, Mike, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Margins and Mandates.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
So sounds like you had a nice relaxing holiday, with your kids. They still believe in Santa Claus, and
Oh,
we're able to do the whole real true family
yeah,
Christmas.
it's so cute. I'm trying to soak it in. The 5 and 4, full Santa Claus. The thought that Santa Claus isn't real is not even a figment, and it's really cute. So I'm soaking it in
So
best I
so
can.
so you're telling me that Santa Claus isn't real, right? Right here.
Wait, Santa Claus isn't real? What? You heard it here
All
on
right.
Margins and Mandates.
So before we jump into the details of your company, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of where you've been and how you got to here.
Yeah, so I got my first sales gig pretty much right out of college. This is right around when the Massachusetts energy market first deregulated. So it was this little electricity broker. And this was 2007. So I was 22, I think. And, you know, if you ever seen the movie Boiler Room, that's what it was. This was pre-iPhone. We didn't have computers. We had our own leads that we generated written on paper, a stack of business cards and a phone, and hammering the phones all day, every day. Uh, I learned a lot though. I'll tell you that. It was my first sales gig, my first real job,
Hmm.
and I learned a lot until I found out how much we were making versus how much we were making the company. And I left pretty quickly and kind of took myself up. So, it was the typical, you go up the chain, all sales. Um, Found success more than I failed. So I thought I had a good thing going. Kept learning. Um, and it led me to here with Point Five, where it's very much sales focused. We started with $0 in funding, bootstrapped. Just Brandon Byrne, who's the founder, and I building a business, knocking on doors, meeting with anyone that would take a meeting with us, going out every night, all hours of the night, doing it.
So
And
what was the impetus to actually launch Point Five?
yeah, yeah. So we met at this company called Light Tower. Light Tower is now known as Crown Castle. If you ever heard of them, they're a big internet provider. They own
Mm-hmm.
fiber network asset. So I had actually from my previous job, I had actually cold called the CRO at Light Tower looking for a gig. My job before then, I pretty much hit the peak of what a salesperson can do there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for kind of the next step. So I cold called the guy and just, are you hiring? I don't even know if you're hiring or not. And he took the call and he brought me on. I couldn't believe that as a young guy, first of all. So I joined up with them, just salesperson in Boston. And Brandon had come through acquisition. I met up with him. He's about 10 years my senior. He was the top guy. Everyone kind of looked up to him. And I don't he didn't really mentor me as much, but we definitely hit it off. Um, and I had actually gone on to another company, he started point 0.5. And at that point, I basically jumped ship. So point 0.5 started as kind of this, we all worked for these big internet carriers. And the reason he started it was we thought we could do better, thought we could do a better job.
Mhm.
And we were kind of sick of, if you know, the ISP world, there's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tape, a lot of jumping through hoops. I think we just got sick of it. We didn't want to work for that anymore. So I think it's the classic tale that we thought we could do a much better job. I think we do today, but that was the inception of point 0.5. I think we can do it better.
So it's more than just doing it better, though. There's an additional kind of value proposition around multiple carrier coordination, right, for a corporation. So talk a little bit about, what is the value prop for point 0.5?
Okay, yeah, okay. So the sales pitch, yeah, the
Yeah.
sales pitch for point 0.5 is you've got a million carriers out in the world, and if you're a business that has multiple sites, you're managing a separate carrier for each of your sites, which means a separate support team that you have to call, a separate account team, separate salesperson, a separate invoice for every service. So if you've got 100 offices around the globe, you're doing a separate process for each one of those offices. And not only that, most people kind of standardize on you've got your primary service, and if that goes down, you have a backup.
Mhm.
So now that's two times the carrier per site. So that's 200 services that you're having to manage. So the value there is we just boil it all down to us as the one, they say throat to choke, but really it's the one hand to hold.
Mhm.
We're doing everything. You call us for everything. It's all consolidated on a single invoice. You're not chasing around different support teams. It's just us. And to boot, you would think that would be much more expensive, but actually we end up being about the same cost as you would get direct anyway. So it costs about the same. Sometimes we'll even save you money, but usually it's about the same.
Mhm.
So that's the, if I had to give an elevator pitch, that's the value prop. It's going to save you a ton of time, ton of hassle, and really not going to add to your budget too much.
And then from a revenue perspective, you pass through the cost of the services to the client, or do you just take a percentage or a royalty or service fee, or like how do you charge customers?
No, we're wholesale. So we have agreements
Okay.
pretty much every carrier on the planet. I mean, we have customers in Africa, we have customers in mainland China. So all of these carriers we're already working with. So we work with their wholesale team. We add on our margin.
Hmm.
So by the time we hit our revenue or add on our margin to hit our revenue, it's usually about the same that you would get from the retail
I
team.
see.
Like if you call them direct, it would usually end up being the same.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so walk us through sort of the journey, from the point you started to today. How long was that, right? And kind of what's
Yeah.
transpired over that time. How did you get to the point where you have a relationship with every ISP
Yeah,
on the
it's
globe?
crazy, crazy. So it's been 12 years.
Yeah.
The first 4 years, we didn't even have a product. We were just brokering services. So that would be, we were sort of advisors. The value back then was we've been in this world for so long and we know it so well. Bring us in and we will show you the way. We'll show you the light. We'll show you where all of these vendors are going to get you. We'll show you where they hide costs, things like that. So we were just brokering services where a kind of like a realtor,
Mhm.
a client would bring us in. We'd set them up with XYZ provider. That provider would pay us a commission.
Okay.
Kind of like a sales guy. We'd be like an external salesperson.
Yeah.
They would pay us the commission that they would normally just pay their own salespeople.
It's like these
So we did
healthcare
that.
brokers. Yeah, like
Yeah,
healthcare.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a broker. It's just like any other brokerage.
Mhm.
But we did that. We didn't have a product, but we needed revenue. And it was the quickest, not easiest, but definitely the quickest way for us to build a business. So we built it to a point where it's probably 4 or 5 million ARR we had at that point, just straight up advisors, brokers. And we built our current managed service platform, which is this sort of consolidation for internet services. So the first 4 years was just finding projects by any means necessary. Ended up working out, thankfully. But the first year I made $0. The second year, I think I made like 10 grand. So it was hard. I remember the first year we lived in Charlestown. My wife and I just got married, no kids yet. I couldn't even afford a T pass. I found a used bike to bike into town to go on meetings because we were very I emptied my savings to
Mm,
get this thing going.
yep.
I would do it again every time versus taking funding. But that's only the nature of what we did as a business. If we were building some product, yeah, you got to go out and get money to do that.
Hmm.
But for what we were doing, bootstrapping, I'd do it again every time, and I'd go through not being able to buy a T pass every time because it was fun, and I learned a lot. Tell you that I failed a lot, but I learned a lot too. And looking back, I laugh, but in the moment, I was not laughing.
And so if you look over the 12 years, have there been, obviously you started out, fast and you're, hand to mouth, right? Kind of living.
Yeah.
Were there any kind of inflection points along the way, right, for the business? Sort of milestones in those 12 years that you would call out as kind of key
Yeah.
points?
Absolutely. So I mean, pure inflection points would just be clients. So I have a really, this is another, I look back and laugh, but there's this one client we got introduced through a partner that I'm still really good friends with today. Actually, the client is still very good friends with today. So this was probably 2017, maybe 2018. We were, still getting going, not a lot of revenue. This one client was a fintech company. They're still around. We got introduced to them. They had, I think, some managed cloud provider. This is not the AWS or Google, but up like a private cloud provider. They weren't happy with them. Again, kind of age old tale. Didn't like what they were doing, looking out in the market, see what's going on. So we went through the whole process of researching the market, who we like, who we don't like, narrow it down to two or three vendors. Then you bring them in, they do the dog and pony show, go through all the technicals, land on something. So they ended up landing on this one provider. Um, and come time to, sign the deal, it was, I think, it ended up being about 20,000 a month was the bill for them. That
Mhm.
was what the service cost. At that point, that was our largest deal. And I remember I was in New Orleans at my buddy's bachelor party in the hotel room, just by myself. We were getting ready to go out or whatever we were doing. And I had my phone and I saw the message that they had signed. And I sat in my room for, I think, 5 minutes, just fist pumping, like yelling, like cheering by myself because it was like the like a monkey just jumped off my back. All that pressure had just left from this one client, and it was like an epiphany that we're doing it. We like now we've got it, and we're not safe, but this is a huge step in the right direction. And looking like that's kind of at that point that was a massive client for us. It still would be. But yeah, that was a huge changing point, and really, you know. all the other inflection points were just clients that we closed that solidified our business and validated that we're doing the right thing and we're going to market correctly. And our marketing is working and our strategy is working. And it was just all these little steps on the way just built our confidence up and up that we're doing it. We're actually doing it. It's such a good feeling. And we still get those. But back then, that was really huge for us.
So fast forward to today. So you've gotten to this point without really a formal sales and marketing organization, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now, so tell us about the current inflection point, right? That you're at.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is it's not official per se, but this is we've been operating more or less the same way we've been operating for 12 years. It's
Mm,
Brandon and I doing sales. And then we have a whole ops team behind us that's helping out, and they're amazing. But it's more or less time. It's time to grow up. We have the revenue, we have the cash, we have the client base. We don't lose clients. They love us. Our churn is almost zero. The only time we ever lose a client is if they get acquired.
Mm.
And even then, sometimes we still keep them, but usually it's they'll AOL acquired one of our biggest clients, and so now it's going to be uh, we have a new president coming in. I'm going to be taking over as head of sales and marketing and building an army, so to speak. But it's also the marketing strategy. It's a go-to-market strategy. It's everything you'd expect from, a real company, not a startup. And we've kind of been doing it, but it's really just us and our relationships. So now we're going to market.
Mm.
My personal financial goal for this, and every time I say this, I kind of get laughed at, but it's a billion. It's $1 billion. My target is $1 billion, and that is based on a few of our biggest competitors that we will often win business from. And you wonder what are they doing? What are they doing to get here when there are mostly we hear clients don't like them or they're leaving them, but they're still doing it. So I'm basing this on my confidence in myself and my team and the product that we have to get that target. But it's a lofty target. I understand that. But that's the goal. And to get there, you need to grow up. And that's what we're doing.
So walk me through, like, let's say the next 12 months, right? So, what do
Yeah.
how do you hope to come
Yeah.
out of, calendar 2026, right?
Yeah.
This is where it starts, right?
Yeah. The first bit is the messaging
Mm.
and the go-to-market strategy. And we pretty much have it now, but it needs to be tightened up. But that's the focus is the messaging, the go-to-market. How do we scale the messaging? That's the big one. Because right now it's mostly just relationships. It's just people that know us or people that we know that will vouch for us to bring us into clients. So this is a wide scale messaging exercise.
Mm.
That would be to brokers, clients directly, of course, all these trade shows in the industry, organizations that I'm a part of, the messaging has to be succinct. So that's step one. And then step two is personnel, like
Mm.
physically scale the company.
Mm.
So hiring salespeople, certainly hiring project managers to facilitate the uptick in sales. And then, an army of brokers on the channel side. It's in our world, it's the channel. I
Mm.
know other industries have kind of the same thing, but an army of channel reps that are bringing us in. So it's the messaging, and then it's actually scaling personnel to facilitate that. But if we get the messaging right and the marketing is right and it's bold and it's different than everyone else, what their messaging is, and we stand out and it makes sense, we're good. We just need to get that set up first.
Okay. So you get messaging that you're comfortable with, that you've tested, you're ready to actually, pour some gas on it. Um,
Mhm.
how are you going to pour gas on it? Like, what's the mechanism that you're going to use to get that message out?
Yeah, so right now it's pretty much go to every trade show that you
Okay.
possibly can go to, which is
Events.
what I'm doing.
Hmm.
It's events. It's getting it out there. It's broadcasting it to the world. But it's also the PR side of it too.
Hmm.
So, you know, LinkedIn is huge for that. Social media, advertising, your traditional marketing channels. But also it's just relationships. We built a $10 million business solely based on relationships because people love us. But more importantly, we love our clients and they know it. We love our clients. This doesn't work if we don't absolutely love our clients. And that's why we've been successful. So it's like, don't stop that. There's going to be a lot of changing, but the philosophy remains the same. It's we love our clients, we do a good job for them. The second we stop doing a good job, we're done. We're absolutely dead because we're revenue wise, at least, we're certainly not the biggest. I will also say though, based on the number of employees we have, we probably have one of the highest uh, dollar or revenue per employee
Mhm.
ratio. It's over 1 million per employee. That's crazy. And that's because clients don't leave. They love us. Well,
Right.
they love us because we love them back.
Yep.
So that does not change. That's the When I see a lot of companies, when I see them fail, it's they change too much and they completely forget the point of doing this whole thing. They throw their philosophy out the window
Mhm.
and they go with the book says to do this. So they do. Or they take advice from someone that has no concept of what they're doing and no skin in the game, and they're not vested at all, and they're just taking blind advice and they do it and they fail because they completely lose the philosophy of why they're doing this.
Right.
The reason we're doing this is we're trying to do a better job than the traditional model. So as long as we just stay focused on the original intent of the company, we we cannot fail. We won't fail. But, to your point asking, what do we do year one? Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's just work. It's getting all the marketing and the messaging, but it's also hiring people and it's sacrificing the body like we did on day one to get this thing cooking. So the gasoline is just really the hard work. Pouring the
Yeah.
gasoline on it is just got it time to go to work.
So
And we will.
you're not intending then, so you've got this messaging, kind of what the channels are, right, to reach your channel, in terms of getting that message out, which is events, which cost money, right, to attend and to
Mhm.
do it right. Do you take a different approach now than you did in the past? Meaning, you're going to spend more money, you're going to, increase ad spend, looks like you've kind
Yeah.
of rebuilt your website already, right? So it's more,
Yeah.
professional and, fit for purpose. What are the things that you do, monetarily, right? To put gas on it.
It's that. So it's spending money. It's the old phrase, it takes money to make money. It really
Yep.
does. It really does take money to make money. So these trade shows are not cheap, but you got to be there, right? You have to be there. It's a branding exercise.
Hmm.
It's relationships, but it's a branding exercise. So there's the trade shows, but there's also organizations that I've been a part of. So there's this. Is it okay if I plug
Of
some
course.
some orgs there? Yeah.
Plug
Okay.
away.
Okay, so there's a couple, there's two in particular. There's this company, yeah, there's an organization called ACEC. It's the I'm gonna screw this up. It's the uh it's the American Coalition of Engineering Companies. Oof. I hope it's coalition. I can't, but anyway, it's the major consortium of engineering firms, so like civil engineering,
Mhm.
water, transportation, architects. I've been a member of that org for 4 years now. Um, and it's great, but initially I joined because engineering firms are our perfect client. They have a
Mhm.
ton of offices, but what ended up happening was kind of the reverse is that I just love being part of their org. They're just good people. Um, and I'm also part of their education corporation committee for their Massachusetts chapter. So I've really ingrained myself
Mhm.
in the whole organization. But the point is they do a ton of events, and it's not our industry at all. But we spend a lot of money supporting them because it's right and it's true. But it's relationships. It's just a relationship building exercise. It's not even branding because we're not an engineering firm, but we still support them because they're a good org. They're probably one of the better orgs I've ever been a part of, but it's our client base as well. They
Right.
make up a big portion of our client base. So you do the right thing. So yeah, the trade shows, the industry stuff, of course, you have to do those. But it's sort of the in the periphery, there's organizations that on paper make no sense to support. But in this case, it makes perfect sense because they make up our client base.
Right. So, I mean, you have a position where your ideal customer profile could be a very, very broad market, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
a lot of times, the history of failed startups is usually lack of focus. So trying to go after too many things, with too little resources versus picking a lane, doubling down on it, and then focusing on really penetrating some market and having messaging that's really refined for that ICP. So, I mean, are you thinking about it that way? Sounds like just from a event standpoint, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
any other kind of deliberate attempts to narrow your market, as you start to increase your go-to-market?
Well, that's the big one, right? It's this engineering world, but it's also I don't know how it ended up this way, but we're very prominent in life sciences as
Okay.
well. So yeah, it's should we do we need to narrow down our focus? Of course, because if you cast too wide a net, you're toast.
Hmm.
So yes, as we scale up, I think at least in my experience, you you can sort of itemize industries and verticals based on how many sales professionals you have internally. So that would be, eventually someone is going to take over these relationships for me as I pivot out of direct sales and into the CRO role. If it were me, if I, what the analogy I always use, if I could clone myself 10 times, here's what I would do. So what I would do is I'd take each one of my clones and have them focus on a specific vertical. And it's you own this, you own every relationship, all the directors, the principals, you're in, this committee, you're going to all of these, golf events, fundraisers.
Hmm.
You own it. You're the relationship. Everyone knows you and respects you. That's your thing. This person's going to be in the biotech world. You're going to do all the things in Cambridge and Boston. You do, and so on and so on.
Hmm.
If it were me, that'll definitely get you focused. Is it the right way? I could be wrong, but that's how I've found success and probably will continue down that path because it's proven
So
and
you'll
and
you'll
and the numbers say that it works.
Okay. So you're going to segment your sales team by ICP, right? So
I
first,
think you have to.
yeah, rather than
Yeah.
saying, okay, this you're the Northeast guy and you're the Midwest guy, right? It's going to be, your biotech and your, E and C, your market.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I get it. I get that's the traditional method, but it's just never worked. It's just never
Mhm.
worked for me. Every org I've been a part of, it's like, well, okay, yeah, we're doing this, but it just doesn't work because it's just so disconnected. And now
Mhm.
you've got different territory reps, kind of peeking into other territories, and then you've got sort of infighting. And I get it. It's just if we're gonna do this, and I know it to be right, we're not going to be successful doing what everyone's been doing for the past 40 years.
Mhm.
It's just that does not get us to the target.
So when you look at the task ahead of you, and you know the market better than anyone, right? What do you see? I mean, are there like environmental risks, like market risks that you have to grapple with? What are the risks that you see as the most significant ones that you have to manage, right, in your new role as CRO, building a sales and marketing engine?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you know what's crazy? We had our biggest year in 2020. You would think that that would have been our worst year. We had our best year during COVID. All that I don't know because everyone left their offices and went to work from home, yet we had a banner year.
Hmm.
So, and that threw me for a loop because if you had asked me, I would have said batten down the hatches. But it was the polar opposite. So, you know, you would think that would have been a risk,
Hmm.
but actually was a benefit. So, as far as risks go, I think really the only risk because we're set up in the market appropriately. Our product is good. Our clients love us. That's proven. I think the risk is us. I think it's us to screw up. It's our failure to behold, you know?
Execution risk.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's ours to screw up. It's all there. It's all sitting there waiting for us to just grab. And it's ours to screw up. So as long as we execute properly and we execute it with confidence, we won't lose. But I mean, I think that's it. I think the risk is us, the human error.
So as you look back, right, at the journey so far, um, anything that you would do differently, right, if you had to do it all over again?
I mean, yeah, probably. There's like so many things that I look back. Uh, but would I really? I try not to be backward facing. I try to always be looking to the future. Maybe, maybe too much sometimes. I always look forward. I'm like 5 years out. I'm always kind of looking 5 years out. What does the next 5 years look like? And that might be to my detriment. Maybe it's too forward thinking. I try not to look behind me. I will say, so when we were just starting out, I was a young guy. I was 29 or 30 when we started. And again, just married, single. But listen, we had to build a business. We were taking clients however we could find them. We did not have the ability to say no to business. We needed revenue. So a lot of that involved, going out for late nights, going to Patriots games. In particular, this one client we had, a friend of mine introduced me to a very large client,
Mhm.
and they like to go out and have fun, and a lot of late nights with these folks. But looking back, I probably could have dialed it back a little bit. It was, I mean, I really sacrificed the body, and I'm not a huge drinker. I never, it's not really my thing, but I think the pressure of getting the business going, clouded my vision. And I kind of needed I did what I thought I needed to do at that moment to grow the business. So yeah, I mean, looking back, probably could have dialed it back a little bit. But what if I did? What if I did dial it back? Would we still be, was it the right sacrifice?
Mm.
And then eventually the ship kind of righted itself. I don't know. I don't know if I would have changed anything. I think I did. I think we did what we needed to do to get a business off the ground, for better or for worse. And there were a lot of scenarios where we probably could have done it better.
Yeah.
But we did it, right? We did it. So would I change anything? I don't think I would. I'm pretty confident in what we did. Good question though. I mean, I don't really think of that.
Do you do you regret not taking the step you're taking now sooner? I mean, could you have?
Oh, oh yeah. Yeah, maybe you'll have Brandon on the show one day. But yeah, I think I was ready much sooner. When I originally kind of brought this up, I actually didn't even know if I wanted to do it myself, but I did. Should we have done it sooner? Man, I don't know. I think this is the perfect time to do it.
Mm.
We're so solid. We're rock solid. And I think we've only just hit the inflection point where we're gonna do it or we're not. And we have to make a decision. I think before it was kind of like, we're doing well. Why change it? I think now we've hit the point where it's clear and obvious that it's our time. It's our time to shine.
Yeah.
And it's ours to grab. And we can either get it and we'll do it, or not and we'll regret it for the rest of our lives. And I think we're doing the right thing. In fact, I know we're doing the right thing.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah, but again, another great question. This is very like retrospective, like part of the show. I've never really thought of this stuff, but you got me thinking now.
Yeah, I mean, I think you are in a very enviable position, right? And probably the most enviable part of it is that you don't have, external investors, right, that are putting, unrealistic expectations on you and your team, right, to grow. So you've done the hard work to get to this point, bootstrapped, right? And
Yeah.
now. It's up to you and only you, right? We call it margins and mandates, right? So you've got to create your own mandate now,
Hmm.
right? There's no one else, there's no
Oh
overlords
man.
creating mandates for you. So it's,
Yeah.
I think most of us who have lived underneath the investor mandate, have all kinds of different stories than you, right, to tell. And a lot of people who
Yeah.
listen, are under that. But I think, having to motivate yourself or to having to, take those risks, to kind of take the business to the next level is really on you, right? I mean, there's no one else pushing you, right? And you've got to be able to follow through and not, dip your toe in and say, "Oh, that was too cold. I'm not going in." Right? You've got to have the gusto, right, to really take it to the
Yeah.
next level, right? So how do you do that, right? How do you gather that sort of
Great.
steam and not say, "Oh shit, I just hired somebody. Now I'm in, so now I got to keep going."
That's the question, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
the question. I'm sure you've run it. I mean, you've done it. I'm sure you've asked yourself this. I mean, with every one of your companies that you've been CEO, your PE experience, it's like that's the question. What do you do? Well, to your analogy, it's not dip your toe. It's do it. So
Mhm.
we're doing it or we're not doing it. We're not testing out the waters. We're not going to run an A/B test. We're not going to send our guys to sales training. It's we're doing it, and this is what we're doing, and we're doing it with confidence. And if we fail, so be it. I don't suspect we're going to, but it's either do it. It's either do it or don't do it.
Mhm.
What I see a lot, like even myself, so I'll give you an example when I mean, I failed with a capital F. It was the role I took right before Brandon started Point Five. It was this Cisco bar. They're out in Colorado. They wanted to open up sort of the New England territory. And a friend of mine had got me hip to this. They wanted to do it. So I kind of stepped on board to open up this territory and I sucked. It was the worst failure I ever had in my career. I didn't sell a thing. The whole thing was a disaster. And like I had an existential crisis because I little failures here and there. I didn't win a deal here. I did whatever, but this was just like a complete failure, fell flat on my face, and I really had to kind of restart things. So luckily, point five was another opportunity to kick things off. But um, yeah, in that scenario, I didn't go full in. I kind of dipped my toes,
Mhm.
thinking, oh, this will happen. I'll try this thing out. I mean, massive failure. What a horrible philosophy. Glad I did it because I learned, and it might have been serendipitous that we had point five kind of sitting there waiting that I went through this failure. But yeah, yeah, don't dip your toes in it. It's like you do it. You either do it and have confidence. You know, I think the messaging is there, but it's the philosophy of the business and leadership. We're gonna do it. Don't test. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm really passionate about that aspect of it. The sales jargon, all the training you can do, operational acronyms. Like I've never done sales training. I don't know most of this stuff, but I've been successful just because I know what I'm doing. I know the market, and I think I'm a good guy, and people trust me, and like that's what it is. So I don't know how much time we have left, but I'll do another quick shout out of this organization that I'm a part of. It's called Perscolis. They're a nonprofit that they educate for technology. So like developers, Salesforce administrators, things
Mhm.
like that, networking. So I do a lecture series with them. I just come in and speak to the students, and it's about sales, but it's about I call it organizational sales, where you're selling yourself. These are all people that are going to be looking for jobs soon. They're going to this education nonprofit to learn something so they can get a job. So the point is, you need to learn this skill of sales to get a job, to sell yourself. Even though you're not a salesperson, you need to know this stuff. And I forget where I was going with this. I completely lost my train of thought.
Well, look, Mike.
Anyway, I just wanted to shout these people out because it's a really good organization. Anyway, so yeah, see, I'm getting ahead of myself. See how like I get fiery. I told you. This is where I'm at.
Well, look, Mike, I think it's I think you've got a like I said, a unique opportunity. I'm happy that you are ready to sort of grab it and run with it, and put the fear of failure behind you, right? And
Mm,
with the lessons that you've learned, through that, understand that you have to jump in with both feet. Um,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to hearing, how things are going in 6 or 8 months, right?
Keep you
Maybe
posted.
we'll have you back on, and you can tell me, what went right and what went wrong, right, in the early days of your scaling. But
Yeah.
wishing you the best of luck, and thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. And congrats on the success of the podcast as well. And
Thank-
on AO. Yeah, congrats on that as well.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, you got it. Till
Bye.
next time.